I guess maybe we should just talk about it and get it out in the open, the controversy about this film. If anybody has been living under a rock and for some reason you're listening to this, Disney originally decided not to hire little people to play the dwarves. And so sometimes this stuff happens with reporting the news. So,
I think a lot of this is because of that. Like, I think
yeah.
the reporting was all over the place, and I think nobody truly knows the exact backstory of this movie because it's so convoluted. The reporting, the lies, the half truths, all of it is just kind of mixed up into an unknowable soup, and we will never know what this movie was originally supposed to be. Hey everyone, it's Jonathan, and today we've reached the final episode in our Disney Snow White miniseries with Jenna and Callum. And I guess we've saved the worst for last, because this time we are finally taking on Disney's most recent attempt at Snow White, the much maligned live-action remake from earlier this year starring Rachel Zegler as Snow White, Gal Gadot as the Evil Queen, Andrew Burnap as Jonathan, the Prince Charming-esque character of the film, as well as two massive supporting casts playing a myriad of dwarves and dwarf stand-ins, seemingly from two different movies that were kind of duct taped together in the hopes that no one would notice. We noticed. I wanted to like this film. Yes, it was fraught with controversy and bad press, but I went in hoping that the whole thing had been overblown, as the 24-hour online outrage cycle is wont to do. And I guess to some extent it was a bit overblown. It definitely wasn't as bad as all the furious YouTube thumbnails would have you believe. But even if it wasn't awful, I still can't say it was good. However, as always seems to be the case, even if the movie itself wasn't good, it was still a lot of fun to break it all down with Jenna and Callum and try to figure out where and how the production of this movie went so wrong. I'm going to hit record quick just because I feel like we're already getting into it.
Oh, sorry, no, that was just me being like, oh my god, yeah, knee slap this film. How do you talk about it?
Well, how do we talk about it? Did you like the film?
Short answer, no. Long answer, I have mixed feelings about this film. I It's interesting because I feel like if you had given some parts of this to me and just been like, this is a new interpretation of Snow White, not linked to any other previous adaptations, I would have been like, that's interesting. I don't know if it'd be, one of my favorite Snow Whites, but it's like interesting ideas.
Yeah.
But because it is tied to a previous Snow White, and it's also really messy, just in general.
Yes.
It ends up being a really bad film. So that's the longer answer.
Yeah, I feel very similarly. In some ways, it's an interesting film because
Mm.
you can see the joins. You can see where there are,
Very
yeah.
clearly.
Yeah, you can see where certain decisions were made at some point along the line, and the kind of effects of those choices are, I would say, it's not a good film. But I don't think it is the worst of the live action remakes, for want of a better word.
No.
Uh,
Oh, what
and
do
I
you
think
think is
that
the worst?
I don't think I don't think it's the worst. I think it's yeah. I think it has some decent elements to it,
Mm.
but yeah, on the whole, it's not great.
I didn't
Yeah.
love this movie. I'm not even sure I can say I like it. But if I were to like rank all of the live action remakes, this is not at the bottom of the list. Like I would watch this again. Just
Hmm.
like it's not awful, but it's not great. But I don't think I ever want to see Pinocchio again.
Oh, Pinocchio is the
Oh,
worst.
yeah.
Honestly,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
terrible.
And also Dumbo. Like Dumbo also
Oh,
wasn't that bad, but I'd choose to watch this over Dumbo. I was bored through most of Dumbo.
I guess I agree on that front. I would never watch the Pinocchio. Or I actually haven't even seen Dumbo because I've been avoiding that. I just see Dumbo's eyes, and I just can't do it. Um, I will eventually, but at least this one, I've watched it like two times now, and little pieces of it, so almost kind of a third time. But it's weird. I would rewatch this again. So I get, yeah, you're right. It's not the worst, I guess.
Well, I did rewatch it because I actually saw this in theaters when it first came out. I have a cinema card, so basically, if
Mm,
I go and see like two movies per month, and it sort of pays for itself. So it wasn't like I was paying money to go and see the live action Snow White remake. It was so, but yeah, then I rewatched it for for the podcast, and my feelings are still very much the same. I had the same kind of reaction the first time I saw it. Yeah, it's not good, but I think that it indicates some aspects of like the production like process or like what went on with the making of this film, and it's like
Mhm.
visible on screen. The
Hmm.
fact
Yeah.
that it was, I don't want to dwell on it too much, but obviously it's been a time of real social and political and cultural change and upheaval. And
Mhm.
I think that is reflected in some of the decision making that went into the production of this film.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's an odd creation, this film. It doesn't really serve the purpose of being, I wouldn't want a shot for shot remake of the original, but it's
No.
also not entirely a reinvention. It just feels like it falls between a lot of different stools, and it doesn't learn the lessons of the live action remakes that were both critically and commercially successful. And I think Cinderella is probably, for me, I think that is the blueprint of how to do the live action remakes.
Yeah. I think
Um,
they might have started out with the intent of doing it more like that because I feel
mhm,
like you can see, like you said, you can see the joints. I feel like the movie that they made originally, before people got upset about things that may or may not have even been true, and then they
mhm,
decided to fold in all of the old shot for shot remake stuff. I think that movie could have been good. I don't know about great, but I think it could have been good. I think I would have enjoyed whatever they were trying to make before
mhm,
they changed it because you can tell that it's a different movie. Like there were scenes that it did not feel like the same movie. Like Snow White looked similar enough, but there was like the lighting, everything about different scenes looked like a different movie. And
mhm.
I liked the movie that didn't have all the CGI. The CGI was the worst part of the movie. The dwarves looked horrible. Like I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I they looked awful. They were
Ooh, that's
the
interesting.
faces.
Yeah.
I could not. The faces were so uncanny valley. None of them ever read as anything other than trying to be alive. They were not alive. They looked like plastic things. I didn't like the dwarves at all.
So I have a theory about why the dwarves look so awful. Sorry. And um, and I say theory, but it is based a little bit on fact. So I guess maybe we should just talk about it and get it out in the open. Some of the controversy about this
Mhm,
film. If anybody has been living under a rock and for some reason you're listening to this, Disney originally decided not to hire little people to play the dwarves because or well, I guess okay, actually originally it looked like they were going to do that, but then who was it? What's
Peter
his name?
Dinklage.
yeah.
Yeah, Peter Dinklage, known for Game of Thrones, a little person actor, said that the dwarfs were like offensive because I guess stereotypes for little people, which is I'm not a little person. I'm just gonna put that out there. But I did actually hear about a lot of little people who were excited for the auditions of this film because they wanted to have the opportunity to act. I'm also gonna just say like chronologically because the way he said it made it sound like the original dwarfs were based off stereotypes for little people, but it's the other way around. The film was made, and then people started stereotyping little people because of it. And I personally feel like you could still have little people, but not like completely conform to what the original film was.
Hmm.
Um, but anyway, regardless, so Disney went, no, we won't have little people. We won't have dwarfs at all then because that's offensive. Which is not not the takeaway to take from that. And then they were like, we're gonna have magical creatures. Everyone, and then they had like a photo of them. People were like, no, what are you doing? So then it
Mhm.
went back to dwarves, but now they're gonna be CGI. And then people were like, so you denied little people the opportunity to have roles they could do. And then it's like, okay, well, they're gonna be voiced by them now. And in
But
the
they weren't.
context,
I
yeah,
looked up the voice actors. One of them was, I think. The rest were
Grumpy, I
all.
assume. Yeah.
Which one?
I think it was, it sounded like Grumpy to me, but I don't
Yes,
know.
Grumpy
Yeah,
was
it's
the
his
one.
place, Grumpy.
Yeah, but
Mm.
like Bashful was Titus Burgess, which
Yeah.
it's like when I saw that I was like, wait a minute, Like, because I assumed that they were going to be dwarves too, and then I looked up and I saw Titus Burton. He was the only one that I'd like fully immediately recognized. I was like, wait, that's that's weird.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think what might have happened is Disney said they had a little person as a dwarf, and so sometimes this stuff happens with reporting the news. So
I think
some news
that's
reporter
I think
was
a
like,
lot of
"Oh,
this is
yeah,
because of that. Like, I'm
yeah,
not even sure of the exact timeline because, at least to me, watching this movie, it is almost too evident that the bandits were supposed to be the replacements for the dwarves. Like, those aren't
yes,
even magical creatures, they're just thieves that live in the woods. Like,
yeah."
Mhm.
I agree. I think the bandits were supposed to be the replacement dwarves, but they weren't magical creatures.
I think the reporting was all over the place, and I think nobody truly knows the exact backstory of this movie because it's so convoluted. All of the things, the reporting, the lies, the half truths, all of it is just kind of mixed up into an unknowable soup, and we will never know what this movie was originally supposed to be, which is sad because I want the original movie.
I would. It is funny because also we do know that they did a lot of reshoots for this film, especially towards the beginning. We don't know particularly which shots, but like you can make some educated guesses.
Hmm.
Um, From what I understand, a lot of the opening sequences were most of the reshoots. So the part of me is just like, what did the original look like? I want to know.
Yeah.
Like,
Something that came up when I was doing a little bit of research was that the ending as well was a lot of that was reshot, the final confrontation with the Queen.
oh,
And f From what I could sort of gather, and again, I feel like Disney will be very, very tight-lipped on what actually went on with the production of it. So I think it is just really conjecture and sort of what we can figure out, like reading between the lines.
mhm,
But from what I can understand, originally Jonathan was still captured. So it was Snow White going to the castle to rescue him.
mm.
So I think that was one of the things that was changed in the reshoots. And also, just due to the timeline of it, the reshoots took place in summer 2024. And I expect that a lot of the cast and crew was shared with the Wicked cast and crew because I feel like a lot of that opening sequence borrows quite a bit from the choreography of Wicked. It does seem to me like they've just thrown everything at the wall with this to just to see what sticks, and yeah, it's just a little bit of a mess,
There were
the
times
finished
when
product.
I not that I felt like this was a ripoff of Wicked, but I felt like I was getting Wicked vibes from different bits. I think part of the opening, and it
Hmm.
felt like it was like they were trying to do Wicked but worse.
I'm so confused. It just looked like a
Hmm.
musical theater sequence to me. I didn't see anything particularly wicked about it, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on what exactly it was. It just had a little bit of that. Uh, the musical theater thing too. That a lot of this felt like a stage play. Like different scenes felt like people on a stage acting. Because like stage acting and movie
Hmm.
acting can feel different. Like I, sometimes it feels like stage acting is overacting.
I think a lot of that has to do with some of the music. I didn't do any. I did more research into the scriptwriter than I did the composers, but the songs are
Hmm.
very stage
Yes.
songs with some hint of pop music. But like Princess Problems, I was
Yeah.
just like, I could imagine characters singing this on a stage.
Hmm.
Where the Good Things Grow, I could see that as well. Waiting on the Wish felt a bit more poppy to me, but still very. I think a lot of that is just they did kind of write it like a stage musical, which isn't that's kind of tradition for a lot of Disney movies. I feel like a lot of Disney movies have soundtracks by people who work with stage.
That's true. And I feel like I don't think it worked for this movie, but I think part of that is because this felt like at least two, if not three movies Frankenstein together. I think if it
Mm.
was one cohesive
Hmm.
movie from the beginning, I don't think the songs would have felt off. They felt off to me, but it was because the whole thing was such a tonal mishmash. Like, I say almost three because a lot of people are talking about how this feels like two movies crammed together, and it definitely does. But there were scenes that felt like they were from a third movie, and that's any time the Queen was on screen. Like the
Right.
evil queen felt like she was in her own movie, and I like it, but it felt like it would have been better served as a cartoon. Like Gal Gadot's Evil Queen felt like a cartoon, which is not necessarily bad,
Yeah, it was almost
but
like a
it didn't.
parody.
Yes, yes, exactly. It didn't feel like it fit in this movie. It
Well,
almost
yeah,
like
so
when she
yeah.
sang her evil song, I was like, I wish Eartha Kitt was still alive because she would have crushed this.
I
Wow. Imagine that.
I hated her song. I wouldn't want to give Eartha Kitt a song like that. But
I
if
could
someone had
I
to
could
do it,
totally
she
see
probably could
Eartha
make it work.
Kitt chewing the scenery as this evil queen.
I feel like you do make an interesting idea here. Is basically what if the evil queen was played by someone else? And I did feel like this evil queen wasn't what I who I would have casted. I feel like you need somebody a bit more scenery chewing to make this really work, and she just wasn't.
I think with the Evil Queen, the two routes that you could go with her is you could make her a very serious threat and like a proper villain, but also kind of give her that kind of grandeur and or you can make her campy and comedic. And this just it didn't really
Go either
commit.
direction.
Yeah, it didn't really
Yeah,
commit to either of those, but it was comedic in a way, just because the performance was so stilted, and it was a very strange choice, I think, what they did with the Evil Queen, because I actually think the what they chose to do with the costuming for the Queen was pretty cool. Like I liked
The
the
queen has the
glass
best
motif.
costumes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she had a gorgeous costume. But part of the whole issue that I have with this film is that it can't decide whether it wants to hew very, very closely to the animated designs and the story of the animated film, or whether it wants to go its own way, and it just splits the difference on it, and it just doesn't work. And that the prime aspect of that is the magic mirror and
yes.
like when the Queen's talking to the magic mirror, it's like it's lifted the design in some ways from the animated movie, but it just looks rubbish. I'm sorry to
Mm.
say, I just don't think it looks good. And I know that there are a lot of visual effects artists and a lot of people that would have put a lot of time and effort into making these things, but really it's the decision making of they could have done something that was totally different that worked in live action, but it felt like they maybe thought, oh, okay, we need to get this to look a little bit more like the 1937 animation. So perhaps ideas were scrapped, perhaps redesigns were kind of made to resemble that movie a bit more, but and that shows in the design of the Snow White dress as well, I think, which looks like a Halloween costume. It
Yeah,
looks
I
it looks it
expect
looks
that.
kind of
Yeah,
cheap, right?
It really
yeah.
does.
The
It,
tulle
the,
skirt.
yeah,
Yeah.
it did not work. It. I wanted her to change as soon as she got out of the woods. I thought she was going to get a better dress, but she kept the tulle. Like what was with that dress? Like they were trying to do a nod to the original, but it just did not look good. It just
Yeah.
looked
Yeah.
odd.
The only
Yeah.
thing I liked about it was the red shoes. I was like, the shoes are cute, but
Yeah.
what's going on here? It doesn't make any sense.
We like a
Um,
ballet slipper, yeah, and
yeah,
the costume designer is Sandy Powell as well, who did, as I mentioned, the live action Cinderella, which has gorgeous and very different costumes from the Disney animation. So again, it just goes to show that somebody made that decision of actually let's hew closer to the 37 animated film, and it just didn't pay off. Whereas I think if they had gone their own way and did something a little bit different
Hmm.
so
that could really worked.
yeah, so like going off what you said about Cinderella just now and then earlier, I think the huge difference between that Cinderella is so a lot of people are like, oh, that's the beginning of the live action remakes. I actually extremely disagree. I don't
Mm,
view that Cinderella as a remake. I think,
No,
yeah, it
it's
was
its
it was
own.
meant to be its own Cinderella,
Yes.
okay.
produced by Disney, and they thought, well, it's produced by Disney. Let's put some homages in it.
Yes.
And but for the most part, it is its own Cinderella. So like the costumes, like for instance, in this case, so it's the same costume designer. For that Cinderella, they had all the freedom to do whatever they wanted. They ended up choosing blue, but it's a very different blue than the Disney Cinderella blue.
Hmm.
And it's a different dress, to be honest. I don't really see it the same dress at all. They had a freedom to do whatever they wanted with the costumes, whereas this one was just like, well, okay, but this is chosen to be a live action remake of the original Snow White. I think the scriptwriter disagreed. Who they got? She wanted to do her own thing, and I think that's kind of where the film is confused. But it was designed to be a remake of the Snow White, and I think that's why the costumes miss the mark here, even though it's meant to be a remake and it's the same costume designer as Cinderella, and those costumes are great. It just seems to me a lot of executive interference to like make it
Hmm.
a live action remake because they're like, this is a live action remake. It needs to look like that, but
Right.
different. Like, okay. And I don't know. I personally feel like when looking at the dress, so the tulle skirt, the ballet shoes, they're not ballet shoes, but very evocative of ballet shoes. Also, at the time, ballet core was kind of a thing. So I'm kind of like, did they want to do this dress because they thought it was marketable to little girls? Because little girls like ballet. In which case, that's stupid because it doesn't look enough like a ballerina to appeal anyway. So, but yeah. But that's my thought process. Is I feel like the fundamental flaw in this movie was the executives wanted it to be a live action remake, and people involved did not want it to be. And yeah, if this had been given free reins like Cinderella, it could have been interesting.
I don't know about the ballet marketing decision, but I think marketing decisions are what ruined the movie because they were trying to please way too many people with this
Yeah,
movie. And in
yeah,
trying to please everyone, they pleased no one.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't think
Agreed.
I've heard one good review of this movie. The best reviews I've heard are, it was fine.
I've
Yeah.
heard I have heard some children liked the movie, which is okay, but it wasn't nearly enough kids to justify making it. I've only heard a couple kids like it.
Hmm.
I saw nobody in the costume for this movie at all. Usually, when a live action remake happens, you see a bunch of little girls in the corresponding costume for it everywhere.
Right.
Maybe we'll see it for Halloween, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I wonder that because I think at some point there was talk of it going straight to Disney Plus,
Hmm.
in the way that Pinocchio did. But I guess they must have put so much money into
Yeah.
making it and
Hmm.
into the reshoots and everything else with the production that they had to give it a theatrical release. But to me, it didn't seem like Disney had much faith in it when they were promoting it and
Yeah,
publicizing it.
maybe.
And again, it feels a bit like they sent Rachel Zegler out there with a list of talking points, and she got a lot of the heat and a lot of the criticism for it. But yeah,
Everyone put the blame on her. I don't think it was her fault. I think they used her as a scapegoat.
right,
I
yeah,
think, well, to be honest, I do think that she could have been a bit more professional in some of the things she did. But
I guess the
I
comments
believe,
about the
yeah,
animated movie probably were that is not using her as a scapegoat because she did say some of those things. I
yeah.
think the fact that they kept sending her out and like the press basically dogpiled on her. And
mhm.
like, yes, she could have been better at what she said about the original animated movie, but I don't think it's entirely her fault. And I think
Well,
it's unfair that they
yeah,
use her so much.
I think what happened with that is, again, I do think she could have been a bit more professional. I don't think she's entirely blameless. But I think what they did was they sent her out with talking points of, oh, this Snow White is a boss babe, right? Like, we made her into a stronger feminist character, so we want you to talk about that. So she did.
Yeah,
But the way she talked to the movie itself is very confused, which I hope we will
Yes.
go more into depth before, later about how
right.
confused it is on feminist points. But like, so it's like, oh, we want you to talk about how much of a boss babe she is now. Okay, I will. She is, and it's so much better compared to the original film because that's wrong and this is right. That's not what she said, but essentially that is the takeaway a lot of people got from what she said. And it's like, it is in that sense they were kind of setting her up to fail because already I would argue that already the movie itself had a fundamental misunderstanding of the original source material. I actually have a quote from the scriptwriter I would like to read you guys from an interview
Hmm.
um, that kind of, I feel like, demonstrates her fundamental misunderstanding. So, like, but already the film was made from a point of misunderstanding, and it just kept rolling down that once you have a project started with that understanding, that's the way it just is going to end up. And of course, everyone's going to come away with, oh, something was wrong with the original film. This is like the way to fix it.
Hmm.
And then you'd say, like, hey, look at this point I have, which we all agree with, that the original Snow White was flawed and this is better. And people are like, well, I like the original Snow White. So F you, you know?
Hmm.
But anyway, so I found a very interesting interview with the scriptwriter. Her name is Erin Cressida Wilson. She's written scripts before, but she hasn't done anything like major in the last 10 years. And nothing else she has written has I ever heard of before. So I'm just trying to give the background here that it's not
Hmm.
like a very well known scriptwriter. But they did, for some reason, they asked her to do this film. And she was asked, "What was your like entree point in writing a remake of such an iconic film?" And she said, "I let myself think about Snow White's persona and her journey, and I was struck by Dopey." Which already, I'm like, why are you struck
What?
by Dopey?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wondered why he became such a focal point.
yeah. I was like, but already, like, I'm kind of like, okay, already we have a flawed. You're being asked to look at this character, and you can't even look at her. You're looking at a side character.
Right.
Um, But continuing on with what she says, I was struck by Dopey. I thought about how we know Dopey doesn't speak, but we never think about why he doesn't speak. And then it came to me. He's disenfranchised the same way Snow White is. His friends are mean to him and they beat up on him, the way Snow White is beaten up on by her stepmother. Her voice is being silenced. Not literally, but with Dopey, his voice is literally silenced. So Snow White's and Dopey's relationship is core to the story. And yeah, and I was just like, wait, that's your fundamental understanding of the original movie is that, like, yes, Snow White
Mm.
is, she is in an abusive relationship with her stepmother, but, like, you don't, the whole point of the original Snow White is that she still remains kind, and that kindness makes her more beautiful than the stepmother, which is, I feel like, a message a lot of people love
Hmm.
and agree with. Like, kindness is beautiful. So why are we making this about Dopey?
Yeah.
And yeah, that explains why he becomes such a fundamental part of the movie, which is bizarre.
It
Bizarre take on
is.
it. Yeah, and
That
yeah,
helps me make more sense of some thoughts that I had while I was watching it because at certain points in the movie I felt like I was watching weird Snow White fan fiction, and
Mm.
yeah,
that explanation you just gave feels like fan fiction.
yeah, yes. It doesn't make any sense. And apparently, the producers gave her the book that. So I guess Disney has written, like Disney Publishing has done books, like in relation to their franchises. I haven't read this one, but the fairest one of all, they wanted her to be influenced by that.
Okay.
The only thing, so she said there were a lot of ideas from that. I haven't read it. I don't know what ideas.
It's probably part of that series where they write the book from the villain's point of view. I've never read
Uh,
any of them, but I've seen those covers.
yeah, me too.
That's probably what that's from.
Yeah, I got bitten bad by Disney Publishing before, so I've never read any of their books. Um, for what I don't know, they just publish some insane things, in my opinion. Um, but apparently, one of the ideas was the mirror chasing the queen and shattering, so I knew she needed to be swallowed by her vanity. And another early thought was, quote, "Why is Snow White's hair so short?" Unquote. I decided it would be the queen's punishment to cut her hair off so she wouldn't be as pretty and wouldn't be such competition. I put her in her place to clip her wings. Which again, I'm like, what? Are you saying? Are you
Yeah.
saying that women with short hair aren't pretty? What the heck are you talking about right now? Why are you making
Yeah.
this like her short hair was never a point in the original?
No.
And this doesn't make sense. It would make more sense if the queen had long hair, but she wears like a cape thing. We don't know how long her hair is. So I don't know. I think reading this interview just like, oh my gosh, it's flawed all the way from the beginning. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know why they chose this scriptwriter, and then it kind of feels like they never checked in with her, I guess. So then by the time they started making the movie, they're like, "Oh no, this is flawed. We gotta fix it." But like again, if this had been its own thing, I don't care. If you want to be weird about the story, the fairy tale Snow White, you're perfectly free to do so. It's a public domain story. But it is really weird to be asked to do a remake of Disney Snow White and then come up with this.
It's very odd.
Yeah,
Right.
very, very odd.
Partially unrelated, but that does answer one of my questions because I was wondering whether or not the mirror was ever in the picture for the original draft. I guess it was, but the
Yeah.
mirror made no sense to me. Like,
Mm.
it felt like they wanted to have the meaning of fair be both ways, and they couldn't
Yeah.
decide, and they kept flip-flopping back and forth whether fair means beautiful or fair means just.
Yeah. And I wanted to roll my eyes when I realized what they were doing. But I feel like, oh, and I was watching this again with my boyfriend. He goes, if she's fair because she's like fair in a just way, then why wasn't she the fairest of all before? I was like, that's a good question.
Yeah, it did not make any sense.
Yeah, because she gave Jonathan a pie. Like, that's what made her the fairest of all. That's or whatever. I just yeah, some very strange choices in this. But
Yeah.
again, it does just feel like they're splitting the difference. Like it's, oh, we don't want to commit to this definition of fairest meaning, yeah, just because we don't want to be seen to erase that narrative of fair meaning beautiful. And even in the Evil Queen's terrible song, All Is Fair, it plays with the meaning of it too. But to what end? Do you know what I mean? It feels confusing. It doesn't really it just doesn't work.
That's why I wondered if the mirror was even part of it.
It feels like it wants to have like the modern twist on a fairy
Yeah.
tale, but the fairy tale works on this original meaning, and it falls apart if you try to do this.
Hmm.
Yeah. I feel like that's because, like, the reason I thought the mirror might not have been in the whole thing is because I think it works if you're trying to do a full retelling, like a totally different version of Snow White, and you don't have the mirror. Like, it's an odd choice, but if you really don't want the message of beauty being looks in your movie, I think it could work to remove the mirror. And I thought that maybe they had tried that, but then they might have put the mirror back in when they got all the criticism for making it too different from the original. But like if
Mm.
the mirror was there from the beginning, then they probably had this weird non-committing to the meaning of fair from the beginning, and that's just an odd choice and makes no sense. Like I feel
Yeah,
like they should have figured that out before they even started making the movie.
I mean, for
I
all we
think.
know, there might be sorry.
Oh, sorry. All I was going to say there is I
Yeah.
think the mirror is just so part of the iconography of Snow White as a fairy tale that they just couldn't remove that. Surely, like I
Mm,
think the
yeah.
mirror must have been must some version of the mirror must have been in there from the beginning because yeah, I think that's one of the first things people think about when Snow White comes to mind. It's the mirror and the apple. Those are the sort of symbols of the story, I think. But I suppose it would be a very interesting retelling of Snow White without the mirror in it at all.
I do want to say that she doesn't necessarily say it was in the earliest draft. She just kind of talks about different drafts. So it's
Hmm.
possible that maybe she toyed with the idea of getting rid of the mirror at some point. It didn't really work, but whatever remains of that version stayed in. Though I would be kind of like, how would you even tell the story without the mirror? The mirror is supposed to like symbolize how people view them, right?
I think it would work if you have the queen just insanely jealous. Like if you don't want this to be magical. Like you could rewrite a bunch of things to make it not magical. The queen is just jealous, and if she sees other people commenting on Snow White's beauty and then just decides to kill her, like just in
Mhm.
her own mind, like not an outside force telling her, "Oh, she's more pretty than you." I think it could work. Like you'd have to have a really great writer to make it work well, but I think it could be done.
Well,
Hmm.
I mean, if it's gonna be about her being like beauty, then I'd say just leave the mirror in. I think taking the mirror out would only really make sense if you're focusing on fair as in a just perspective and not beauty. Like
Yes.
maybe she hears people like Snow White would be a fairer ruler. Can't she
Hmm.
be the ruler? She's the rightful ruler. She'd be fairer. And she's like, what
That
the
also
heck?
works, yes.
Yeah. Like, I think that would work better for this kind of. In fact, that would almost be kind of interesting, but we
It
can't have
would.
that here. Um, again, I'm not against. I personally like Snow White being more about vanity versus, like inside and out beauty. I
Hmm.
kind of prefer that fairy tale, is focusing on that. But if we were focusing Snow White more as kind of almost like an action movie, almost like a war movie, then that would make more sense. Which feels like this is what that movie wanted to do.
It felt like
Um,
that's what the
yeah,
original draft probably was.
yeah,
Yeah. And we'd already had Snow White and the Huntsman, which
Hmm.
kind of went in that direction too.
yeah.
Um, yeah, obviously just quite a few different potential routes that they could have gone down with this movie, but
But it's
um,
kind of like, you say roots. Like these are forks in the path. If
mm,
you want to, if you want to get somewhere, you have to choose a fork,
yeah,
right? You have to go down that path. This feels more like Disney saw this fork in the road and they went, "What if I just go in the middle?"
mm,
And it's just like you
mm,
don't get anywhere then, do you? You don't you don't
hmm
get to
Yeah.
any
hmm
particular destination. You
yeah,
just get lost, and that
yeah.
basically sums up this movie.
And just to go back to the music, the Pasek and Paul songs being inserted, like these more poppy contemporary musical theatre songs sitting alongside Hi Ho and Whistle While You Work. And although they've reworked both of those songs, it doesn't fit together very well.
Mm-mm.
Waiting on a Wish is just so very different. I think Rachel Zegler performs it beautifully. She's a great singer, and I think her performance overall is one of the best things about the film. But it just feels so different from what animated Snow White was. The sort of sensibility is just so very different from I'm Wishing or Someday My Prince Will Come or anything like that. I can understand the reasons for wanting to get away from that. I can understand it even if I don't wholly agree with it, but it doesn't sit well. The new elements don't sit well alongside the old ones, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
Yes. Another interesting thing from the interview. Apparently, so the interviewer asked, "Were you given any broad brushstrokes by the producers to incorporate into the script?" And Wilson says, "The only mandate I was given was to keep the songs 'Whistle While You Work' and 'Hi Ho' and 'Silly Song.' Other than that, nothing." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"What the heck? They weren't didn't tell you 'Someday My Prince Will Come'?" Probably
Hmm.
not, because they thought that would be anti-feminist or something. But it's like, I love one song. That's like my favorite song for Snow White.
Hmm.
Um, Not even that. But like I think this kind of ties into what you were saying was the original songs don't really feel like they belong with these classic songs.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of why Disney had this strange like, well, these three songs need to be in there. And
But why a silly song?
yeah,
That was the most eyebrow raising. Like, I guess I can see why they really needed Hi Ho and Whistle While You Work, because those are like the iconic Snow White songs. But why silly song?
I have
That
no
one was a
idea.
Who
very
knows?
odd inclusion to me.
Yeah, it is. I would prefer with a smile in a song.
Yeah.
Like, is it? I guess that again they didn't care for that one because it wasn't feminist enough or something. But I'm like, what's wrong with being cheerful and trying to like stop panicking?
Hmm.
But anyway, it's bizarre. So then you have to make these original songs to make up for the lack of songs elsewhere, and they're all modern, and they're not necessarily bad, but they're not great either. And yeah, it's just confused. Waiting on a Wish, I don't dislike Waiting on a Wish. I actually like it.
Hmm.
Um, I say like, but I mean like in the like barest scale of like, it's like on the lowest. I think I like this. But yeah, you know what I mean. It does feel very just blah. I would probably like this more in its own story if somebody had a song Waiting on a Wish and be like, oh, that's a nice one. Whereas this, it just feels like I don't know, just weirdly grandiose when it doesn't have the right to be. And I don't know, there's just something so simple about I'm wishing that works, that doesn't work for waiting on a wish.
And that
Um,
part of it, I think, is the original Snow White is a very simple story,
mm.
and that it works so well as a very simple story. And this, they tried to make it not a simple story. They tried to add in so much that it just feels bloated.
Well, ironically, I actually I might as well bring this up because this is a point I wanted to bring up. I feel like by trying to make this into her to a feminist character, by trying to contrast her with the original Snow White and saying the original Snow White was too passive and wasn't active in her story, they actually made her way more passive and way more inactive in her story. Bizarrely, like let's look at the original Snow White. The original Snow White, she's wishing something happens to her, she has to go. But from that point on, she actually does do things. Like she finds the cottage with the. Well, she's the one who's kind to the animals. She finds the cottage. She thinks, I need to be able to have some place to stay. If I clean and cook for them, they'll let me stay probably. That's an active choice that she's using.
Mhm.
Um, honestly, almost a little manipulatively. But you know, um, let's
I'm just now imagining the original Disney Snow White looking away from the dwarves with like a sly grin, like, yes, they're falling for it.
My
yeah,
plan is coming to fruition. Yeah.
yeah, but like, you know, I'm not saying she is actually a manipulative person, but
No.
it is an actual plan that requires some thought behind it. Like
Yeah.
I want a place to stay. I need to let them know my skills so that they'll let me stay. Like there's a thought process there of this is what I want. This is how I convince people to give me what I want by giving them what they want. And I think it's also kind of a kind plan at least. It's like if I want to sleep here tonight, then here's something I could do to kind of make up for my imposition upon them. But you know, but my point is that it's an active decision, right?
Uh-huh.
This Snow White, she's waiting on a wish. She's not wishing, she's waiting on a wish. So like already kind of weird. Then she goes to the house and she doesn't do anything. She just
I was
sleeps.
thinking that too. She just kind of
Yeah,
breaks in and goes to sleep.
yeah. Like there's no thought process behind it. It's not a I want these people here to let me stay. It's I just need somewhere to bunk and you know, I don't even know if people are here or not. I'm just gonna sleep. And I don't know, there's just something really inactive about it. I guess the point is that they decided to make her power her thing is that she makes them all get along. And I'm like, but the original dwarves didn't need to get along. They were already a family unit before she came.
Hmm.
Like Dopey isn't bullied. He is naturally clumsy, and they do laugh at him, but it's not like meanly, and it's because of things he does. Like, has the scriptwriter never had siblings? It's just I don't know the idea. I don't. It just feels like she's being weirdly projecting.
So one of the things that I don't think it was executed particularly well, but in the ending, the way that Snow White sort of wins everybody over is that she remembers the names and the things that people like and their hobbies and what they're interested in. She has an understanding of the individual people, and that's how she sort of disarms the guards, and that is part of her charm and her way of moving through the world is by understanding what people actually want and are looking for. Again, it's not done very gracefully in this movie, but I do like it's one of the things I will give the movie credit for in terms of highlighting that aspect of Snow White as a character. Which I think is in the 1937 film as well. Like with Grumpy,
Hmm.
she understands like the reason Grumpy has this kind of dynamic with her and with the other dwarves, and she sort her and because she has that understanding, she is able to manage that, and she's able to um she finds the right way to talk to him. And it feels like they didn't really play that with Grumpy in this movie so much. They sort of did it a bit with Dopey, but the real place where that comes to the forefront is when, yeah, she sort of gets the guards on her side instead of on the Queen's side at the end. So I think that was an aspect of the 1937 film that they did pick up on and they did something with, but again, it just wasn't the most elegantly done piece of it.
The whole end scene didn't, it kind of just fell flat for me because they never
Right.
set any of that up. Like if they had,
Hmm.
if we had met those characters before and she'd had some sort of meaningful interaction, like even just one scene each, that would have
Hmm.
meant so much more than her just randomly recognizing them at the end, and we're supposed to just be like, oh, she must have known them.
Hmm.
It just do a better job setting things up at the beginning, because like it just didn't fit. Like the
You mean the song didn't convince you that?
I forgot there was a song in there. Most of the songs I kind of forgot about.
Yeah.
The like as much as the songs were like well written, I'm struggling to even think of the names of them. Like in thinking back, I enjoyed listening to the some of the songs. Like I didn't really like the ones at the beginning. Even Waiting on a Wish kind of fell flat for me. I liked
Mm.
Princess Problems,
I did like Princess
Oh,
Problems. We'll talk.
I
We'll talk about the love interest and.
and I liked A Hand Meets a Hand. Like
Mm,
those were my two favorite songs, but they didn't feel like they fit in the movie.
Mhm.
yeah. But going along, I feel like this point of how she kind of wins everyone over still kind of goes along with my criticism because I feel like it's a very inactive way of winning people over. It's like, I remember you and your name. Great. What does that mean? Where, and ironic, like, whereas what you were saying, Jonathan, if we had seen her with them,
Yeah,
or finally they made a point about her making pies, but we don't really see her doing that. It would have been more interesting, I feel
that's
like, if
true.
yeah,
Like the original, like pies were in the original movie, and they kept mentioning pies and like talking about
yeah,
she made pies as a kid. They should have had a scene of her making pies.
yeah, like
Not that it would have really made the movie better, but like it would have made sense instead of just
it would have
talking
made
about making
sense.
pies.
Honestly, and this also works for our idea of for our own Snow White now, I assume, of fair and taking the movie, taking the mirror out is so she sees people are suffering. She knows there's lots of foods in the queen's pantry, so she makes pies and she gives it to families that are hungry. And then people are like, "Oh, she's so fair." Yada yada. Queen hears that, gets
Mhm.
mad. But like that would have been active action of hers
Yeah.
to like bond with the people that she could have done, and we don't see it. I almost kind of wonder if they were going to do that and it was taken out for some reason, or they just didn't, because they do mention her making pies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so it's weird. It's almost like there's bones of it happening, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, or they're thinking, oh, well, people will have seen the 1937 film, so they'll remember that she makes a pie. And do you know what I mean? Maybe they're expecting people to join the dots in that, which, yeah, that's still a bit of a leap.
There were a few times where I had that thought where it was like they're expecting people to know a thing, but what if they've never seen the thing they're expecting people to know?
Right.
Yeah. Or to be honest, I feel like somebody, this is almost where I feel like feminism can be anti-feminism, where somebody involved in the production of this was like, well, Snow White can't cook and clean, or at least clean by herself, because then those are very traditionally feminist hobbies that are wrong now to depict women doing. And it's like, is they don't have to be wrong though, but I feel like so they're like cooking and baking. We can't really have her do that because that's perceived as too feminine in a traditional way. And it's like no though, like people have different interests and strengths. What is wrong with it? She's doing it in a productive way to bond with people. I don't know. I just feel like it actually circles back around to being anti-feminism.
I know what you
Um,
mean because I had this, I wasn't thinking of that, but I had a different thought in different things where you could tell where they changed something from their original draft because of criticisms they got. It was like they
yeah,
overcorrected and
Mhm.
then
yeah,
made it worse. And that fits right in with something they overcorrected on.
yeah. I mean, I think that happens a lot in this movie, but specifically
Yes.
so they overcorrected on Snow White being traditionally feminine and then made it so she doesn't do anything. Things just happen to her. And there are some points where they're trying to be like, oh, actually, she's really clever, I swear. Like the clothes distraction, and it's just like, yeah, but why can't she do anything more substantial? That's still mainly her animal friends doing that for her, but you know what, whatever, that might just be me. It's
Mm.
not good enough for me. um
That almost made no sense. Like, can she talk to the animals? Did she come up with this plan and then tell them what to do? Like, the animals made no sense to me. I was like, I think part of the reason I didn't even like the first song was because the animals annoyed me at the very beginning, opening the book. I was like, they are trying so hard to make me think this movie is cute and adorable, and I don't like this at all. I think I was just
Ironically, that
annoyed.
opening shot symbolizes what's wrong with the movie. Like they
Yes.
open this book and it's cluttered with CGI animals, and I'm like, that is
Yes,
so symbolic. It's
it
Hmm.
is. It really
Hmm.
is.
Hmm. Yeah, start as you mean to go on. Yeah, with some ugly CGI.
The animals took every time they showed up on screen, they completely took me out. They did not look real. They had the same problem as the dwarves. The deer in particular, like the deer
Yeah.
was designed after the deer in the original animated movie, and it looks like a cartoon deer. It does not look real at all. Some of the other animals, like if they're in the distance, they could have passed for a real animal. The deer, even in the distance, it couldn't. It had cartoon proportions. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know why they thought this was a good idea.
I guess that also kind of goes with, I was talking about it with my, again, second time viewing with my boyfriend. We were watching the forest sequence, and things, trees are moving and everything, and I was just like, I don't know why, but seeing this, and like, I know in the original animated movie, it's her imagination, right, getting to her. It's she's
Uh-huh.
like
Yes.
having a delusion essentially, and things go wild, but you realize that it's not supposed to be the reality. And here, though, I don't. Maybe it's
Yeah, it's
just
in her
because,
head.
yeah, it's in her head. But for some reason, live action sequence, I was like, maybe it's because of the overuse in CGI in movies nowadays. But it feels like it's trying to say this is genuinely happening.
That's what I
And
felt. Like it felt like she
yeah,
Mm.
stepped into a cartoon, creepy world.
yeah, but like that it was supposed to be
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
realism.
yeah. It was like
Um,
the woods were a completely
yeah, that's
different
exactly what I was going to
realm.
say. And
and
why did the
and
deer have red eyes? Like that was do you remember that bit
Yes.
where the deer comes out and it's all okay, but like what was she actually seeing in that moment then if she thought that it was this creature with red eyes and this red glow coming from it? Yeah, it was that is why we have animation, right? It's so that we can do
Yes.
stuff that is more abstract and is more, it blends the surreal with the more, photorealistic stuff that in live action you really have to think about how you're going to put that on screen and how you're going to depict a sequence that is, has these hallucination type elements, or as seems to have been the case with this, make it part of the real environment, like make it as if it is a really happening, like you said, Jenna. So it doesn't look good.
No.
It doesn't
No.
there's
make
a
much
quote,
sense.
another quote from Wilson that I kind of wonder if something might be going on with the forest that isn't explicitly stated.
Hmm.
It's actually it's a part of a question answer to the question about the bandits. This question is a bit granular, but in the film there were seven bandits, just like there were seven dwarves. Did you always plan that for that cemetery, seven and seven? And Wilson responded, I don't remember writing seven in the script, but there were always bandits, the only humans in the magical forest, hoping
Hmm.
to fight for the king and against justice. And I'm like, wait a second, magical forest? Like the forest itself is magical? Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm just kind of, maybe she meant that more like, well, this is a forest with like dwarves living in it. So I guess in this sense, magical creatures do live in the forest. But I was like, do you think the forest itself is magical? Is that why this feels like it's actually happening? But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I'm pretty skeptical of that answer. The thing about, oh, I don't know how many bandits I put. It's like, well,
If they were clearly
you,
meant to
yeah.
replace the dwarfs, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think probably Disney said, Shh, don't say anything about the band. In fact, I'm pretty sure that when those pictures of the bandits first leaked, and obviously there was that big negative reaction to them. I'm sure that
Yeah.
Disney pretended that they were faked, those photos, or that they
I think
weren't
I
real,
remember
and then they
that. Yeah.
backtracked on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Or
is even worse, you know?
I do kind of wonder though that I wonder if I might take her word for it that she didn't say that there were seven
Hmm.
bandits originally.
Okay.
But Disney, upon having their script already, and people getting this feedback from Peter Dinklage, who apparently one little person speaks for all little people. But like they're like, oh, okay, there's bandits in this story. What if we just replace the doors with the bandits that are already here, and we'll make them seven? And then that lead to people hated it. They're like, okay, never mind, the doors are back in, because it
Hmm.
does seem like kind of I mean, a lot of the script is written around them, so it would be kind of hard to believe that she had to come back in and write it all back in. But it does kind of make me wonder if originally the bandits were in there, they weren't seven, and that kind of explains her answer of I don't remember writing seven bandits
Yeah.
in, you know, just but I
I
did
would.
always attend. Yeah.
It'll never happen, but I would love to see just like a tell-all documentary about the making of this movie or a book. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But yeah, I think that Disney will do all that they can to keep the secrets on that one.
Honestly, I fully believe, and give it like 20 or 30 years, that there will be a documentary about this point in Disney's history, whether Disney still exists at that
Mm,
point or not. Just because the way the
mm,
company is right now, it's not just with Snow White. There is a fundamental problem in the whole company, and I think
mm.
it will be interesting to learn about what is happening behind the scenes going on.
Right.
I was thinking
Absolutely.
Yeah,
with like watching this, I felt the same way that I have felt about a bunch of recent Marvel movies
yeah,
because like I don't follow the making of that closely, but I hear bits and pieces and I know that a lot of recent Marvel movies have had a ton of reshoots. And I
yeah,
feel like they're starting with a script or maybe part of a script, shooting and then going back and trying to fix everything that didn't work instead
yeah.
of starting with a finished, ready to go script and then maybe shooting a couple things that they made a mistake on. Like they're shooting a movie and then reshooting the movie and then piecing together bits from both shoots. And I feel like they're doing this with not everything, but most of their things that have a lot of special effects. They're trying to Frankenstein everything together with CGI to make things that don't fit together, and we can still tell.
Mm,
I've
mm.
heard that in general, this is a problem happening with Hollywood movies in general, not just Disney.
I wouldn't be
That they,
surprised. Yeah,
yeah, that they want movies to come out faster,
yeah,
and it ends up, you're demanding it to come out faster, but that means things aren't going to be as perfect when they go into production, and then you realize that, and then you have to go to reshoot, and they expect CGI to be like the miracle product.
yeah.
And I saw like this thread on Reddit of, Reddit's always a credible source, of course. Uh, but it did have
Mm.
a interesting point, which was why was CGI, like 10, 20 years ago, like more believable, like aged better than CGI now? And a lot of CGI artists were in the comments like, frankly, we just don't have the time sometimes. And I was like, you know what?
Mhm.
I have heard things like this, like the Mulan live action remake. There was a lot of complaints about how the Phoenix looked or something. And one of the CGI artists, I actually commented on a video about like criticizing the Mulan live action, and he said it was something about Phoenix's, like, because the way it's depicted in the Mulan movie is more Western versus like Eastern Phoenixes. They're like basically CGI is like, yeah, I hear you. It also doesn't look that great. We were actually working on a comic sidekick. That was what we were focusing on. It was like going to be a peasant instead of a dragon or something like that. And then we got word last minute that actually that character was getting axed and they needed a phoenix instead. And I was like, what the heck?
Okay.
They're really doing that?
Mhm.
Like just last minute, changing characters entirely? And obviously, I don't work in this industry. I don't do CGI, but it sounds like it kind of sounds indicative to me of the Hollywood industry uses CGI as a band-aid to
Yes.
try to
Hmm.
produce movies as fast as possible and then, ship it out. And unfortunately, Disney is kind of like at the forefront, I feel like, where this problem is really evident because they make animated movies and especially
Hmm.
I look at this trend of live action remakes. They're basically just trying to print money at this point because they know
Hmm.
that these stories have done
Yeah.
well. People will shell out money to see because they're nostalgic, and I hate that. But like the live action Lion
Yeah.
King and I say not live action, the Lion King remake. It's still animated. Um,
Yes.
yeah, don't buy into propaganda. It's not real animals. I'm kidding. But but no, it's that did better than the original Lion King, and
Oh,
people didn't even know it was going to do better. Like it had nothing to do with word of mouth of it was a good movie. They just went because they loved the original Lion King, right?
Yeah.
And so that this is what these movies are. They're meant to be made as fast as possible to make easy money, and it's frustrating.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I'm just rambling, but I feel like this is the overall problem is something's wrong with the Hollywood industry itself.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly why it's gotten this to this point, but it's not just Disney. I think Disney is just I think because it's this company so close to our hearts that it is really at the forefront. And I don't think it's because it's gone quote unquote woke at all. I actually think they're not doing wokeness correctly, in my opinion. Because I've seen some people say, "Oh, well, that's why." It's like, no, it's not just Disney having this problem.
I think this is another case of where they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, because they're trying to appeal to the quote unquote woke crowd at the same time as they're trying to appeal to the quote unquote anti woke crowd. And they're not even finding a balance. That's just a mishmash and it's not working at all.
Well, they're not even saying the right, my personal opinion, they're not even doing the right wokeness. I feel like real feminism is respecting that women are complex and everyone has different strengths and weaknesses.
Hmm.
So my strength is in traditional feminine activities, and there's nothing wrong about that. And in fact, I think it'd be kind of cool for those activities to be powerful.
I feel like the feminism that they went for with this movie is something that would have been more well received in like the 90s. Like I don't know what all the correct terms are for like second wave, third wave feminism or whatever. But
Mm.
like this feels like a feminism from a bygone era. Like I feel like nowadays people more correctly understand that women are more complicated than the people who just want to be the girl boss.
Yeah.
But the people making the movies are still stuck in like the 90s where we can't show a woman cleaning because then they'll think that we're not pro woman or whatever they might be
Yeah,
thinking.
actually, that's a good point. It's almost like someone from the outside thinking what feminism is and
Yeah,
trying to make a movie off of that. And it's just like, and also, I do also like agree. It's almost kind of outdated.
yeah,
Hmm. I think as well we have to think about well, what is the artistic statement here? And you're right, it is about printing money, really. That I don't think there was.
yes,
I just don't think that there was much of an artistic reason to do well a live action remake of really anything, but
Yeah.
with this particularly, you can just say, right, okay, we think we can make money out of doing this. And it feels like, yeah, like you're saying, like lip service to feminism, but it's not actually really saying anything particularly feminist at all. It's just, yeah, it's just sort of repackaging elements of the previous film and hoping that people will buy it. But it just I can't even say it backfired because there's just so much going on at the moment, and I think
You
some of
can
the
even say it
backlash.
fired.
Sorry.
So I can even say it fired. I feel like it
Oh
misfired.
yeah, misfired. Yeah, yeah, fair
multiple
point.
times even before it released.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, all I was gonna say was I feel like there's just so much toxic backlash to this, and I think I feel like there's been critique of this film which is fair game, and I think there's just been a lot of bile that's been sort of piled onto it too.
Yeah,
yeah,
Some of the critique for this film, I will say, is not fair.
yeah.
No.
Um,
I
yeah,
was that's one reason I was really hoping I was going to like this movie because like part of me is like I want to prove the haters wrong. But like the
Mm.
haters they're not fully
they have the
wrong. They're just
wrong
wrong about the
taste.
wrong things.
Yes, yes, yes. I just like, it's kind of like standing next to someone. It's like, you think you're on the same side of the war. It's like, oh yeah, that was bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hated when it did this. And it's like, you're wrong. You're, you're. It's like you liked it. No, I didn't, but you're wrong.
Yeah. One of those things. But
Yeah.
yeah, again, I do feel like Rachel Zegler did as good a performance in this role as, as the script would permit. You mentioned earlier on, how do people feel about Jonathan then
Oh, let's talk about the love interest
as
now.
this
Okay,
character?
first off,
Yeah.
I don't like him.
No.
He feels like he's just Flynn Rider copy pasted,
Yes,
and
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
thought so too.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, Rapunzel has her own prince. Why does he need to be here for Snow White? It doesn't really make any sense to me. I would have liked more of a himbo character myself. Just
Actually, that would have been more interesting.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
have loved that. Just like a Labrador of a
That would have
prince.
fit more with princess
Hmm.
problems too. I could see a himbo character singing that more realistically than this one. Just this
Yeah,
goofy
Hmm.
dumb guy.
yeah. Just well, I'm not sure about that, but just I don't know. I just feel like this was the wrong character viewpoint for the love interest. It almost feels like the writer was completely uninterested in a love interest, but she felt like she had to have one. Like she doesn't
Well,
really.
when that was one of
Yeah,
the controversies, like there was supposedly no love interest. Like I don't
yeah.
know how much of that is true because I don't know how much of it was being blown out of proportion. I don't
I
know
feel
if
like there
this character
definitely
was there.
was. I think what happened probably was somebody probably said, "Oh, there's no prince."
Yeah.
Like there's no prince. There's no
Yeah,
love interest.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably,
And
yes.
but like when you look at as we said, the joints of the movie, I feel like he has been in the movie for a while. I mean, Princess Problems, I think, is actually probably the best song of the film,
It
in my
was one of my
opinion.
favorites. It just didn't
Yeah,
feel like it fit. That's part of why I think your idea about a himbo character works better because it's more funny. Like this guy didn't feel like he was supposed to be a funny character. He was too serious for the movie that
Hmm.
ultimately ended up getting made.
yeah. I said he was a Flynn Rider copy paste, but he actually no, that's not true. He's more of a weak imitation. He's like
Yeah,
the
he's like
rip
a
off.
serious Flynn Rider, like a not
Yeah,
fun Flynn Rider.
Yeah.
he's not charming in my opinion. Um,
Well, he's supposed to be.
yeah, yeah, I know. No, he wasn't. Uh, I really liked Princess Problems, but like watching it the first time though, I was like, what the heck is
Yes,
going on? Like
I
he's
felt the same
criticizing her
way.
for not doing anything, but he saw at the beginning of the movie that she was like essentially being abused, and she did say something. And I'm like,
Hmm.
wait a second, why are you, what's happening now? It's like you never even met. And I'm kind of like, you know what? I believe in the original version of the movie, they hadn't met until then. I don't think he
That
was
makes so
in the
much
opening.
sense. I bet you're right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or even like the awkward point in Winning on a Wish where she stops singing and then she unties him at the gate and they have a moment and he leaves. And then she starts singing again. It's a little disjointed. And I'm like, you know what? Also watched my boyfriend. He's like, why did they put him there? And I was like,
I thought that
oh,
too, but for a different reason, because they were talking about like having him freeze to death, and I was like, is it winter? I don't think it's winter.
it's not
Mm.
Like,
winter.
well, why is this gonna leave him to the elements when it's like fall at best?
Well, it's like they're leaving him at the gate, and you could reach through the gate and untie him. Like any of the peasants could have untied him out
That's
there.
true. They didn't even
Yeah.
guard
So
him.
yeah, so it doesn't make any sense, and it's just kind of like, oh, they had to insert him back in so he could escape somehow, and they have a moment. That was the point in the movie. They're like, oh, well, maybe we could insert it there, so they did, and I don't think he was originally meant to be in the opening at all, which is kind of bizarre.
That makes so much sense. I
Yeah.
bet you're
Yeah,
right. That also brings up another thing that I kept thinking about the queen was like, why doesn't she kill anybody? Like she's supposed to be evil, but she lets people live. Like she
Mm.
yeah,
says that she's condemning him to death, but she ties him to the gate. Later, he's just left in the dungeon. But then we see the huntsman is also left in the dungeon. And the way they were shooting the scene where the huntsman is revealed to have betrayed her by giving her an apple in a box, which was also bizarre. The way they
Mm.
shot that, I was like, is she gonna like reach her clawed hands into his chest and rip out his heart? I thought that's where they were going, and I was like, this
Wow,
is
that
too
would have been a
dark for
different
this.
movie. Yeah.
But then they didn't, and then he was revealed to be alive later, and I was like, okay, then what was the point? Why leave him alive?
Yeah.
I think it kind of goes with our criticism earlier of the queen isn't really like anything. She's not. They're
Yeah,
trying to be serious and campy at the same time, but not really either one. So
yeah.
she's not really a threat in this one. So even though supposedly she killed the king,
Which they didn't like. The way that whole storyline played out was so weird too, because like through half the movie they make it seem like the king is going to be alive somewhere, but then she
yeah,
says she has one line where she says that she got somebody else to kill him or something. But I was like, what was the point of all of the lines
Yeah.
about the king? Maybe there's something going on with the king, maybe he's still alive. Like
I
I
knew the whole freaking time that he was dead. When they first brought him up, I was like, this is stupid. He's dead. And, it's just like, oh, what a shock. He's dead. Oh my God, I'm so shocked. It would have been more shocking if he was
Yeah.
alive.
I almost feel like that could have been a really great ending for them to like go on a quest and find him. Like
Yeah.
I would have liked that better than what we got.
Personally,
Or
I
if he was
just,
down in the dungeon,
oh,
you
and
Oh,
know,
that
the
could have been
skeleton.
too.
yeah.
It,
Maybe he was the skeleton.
that would have been messed up. But
Wow.
yeah, but still, I don't know. Actually, let's just talk about the general plot of this movie in general. I hated the focus on the king.
Mm.
I guess maybe they were trying to do this point of Snow White was waiting on her dad to save the day and to realize she has to save the day. She can't wait for him. I guess, though. Again, I feel like that's not very girl boss of her. Um, uh,
Yeah, well, she has that line in the song as well about wanting to be her father's daughter, and I think, well, I suppose she sees him as being brave, and that's what she's aspiring to. But we don't see that about the dad, really.
yeah,
We don't,
there was the
we don't know
festival.
anything about him.
Yeah, there was a
Mm,
festival at the beginning. He's great, I guess,
and
because
that's
there was a
it.
festival.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And also my boyfriend pointed out, what about her mom? And I was like, oh yeah, she never brings up wanting to
Right.
be her mother's daughter,
Yeah.
really. I
Yeah.
also wonder if that was part of the reshoots. If someone was like, why is she focusing on her daddy so much? It's like, oh yeah, she does have a mom that supposedly loved her. Okay, better get that in.
And the
But
mom lived a
she's
lot longer than I
Mm.
think most versions of Snow White have her live. Like she was
yeah,
like fully a
Yes.
preteen when the mom died.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is kind of weird how much she focuses on being her father's daughter. Like, okay, screw the mom then. Like,
Mm.
again, it feels a little anti-feminist, but okay. I almost kind of, I was saying to my boyfriend, I almost kind of prefer if like the queen was more evil and she had like infiltrated the court while the queen was still alive and maybe was like implicated in being the one to cause the queen's sickness. That'd be like super evil. I'd be there
It
for
would
it.
have been. That would have been.
Yeah, but
I
that's
would have
too
liked the
dark for
character
Disney, I
more.
guess. Yeah. I don't know. Again, with the Queen, it just felt like they couldn't commit to like actually making her an interesting character.
Yeah, because at the
Yeah.
beginning, I think part of the reason why I felt like she was from a different movie was because at the beginning I thought this movie was going for serious. Because like everything
Yeah,
about the first chunk of the movie felt really serious with the Queen and everything. But then later, the Queen turns into a cartoon,
yeah.
and it felt like she was from a different movie.
Can I also say this castle is so
Mhm.
populated in a really weird way? I do know that there's been Snow Whites where it's not populated, where it is populated with people. Like obviously the Silent Film version,
Yeah,
Snow White even is interacting with the other people in there. But this one feels so weirdly populated, but at the same time, they want to make it out that Snow White's so isolated, and no one they call her the Forgotten Princess or something.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't have both because there's obviously a lot of
Mhm.
there's a lot of backup dancers for this number who work here.
And
like,
it's not like that Snow White was locked away. She was like fully part of the staff. She was a
yeah,
servant. So
Yeah.
the other servants should know, and they should be able to tell their families, who would presumably have friends that they could tell. Like, the
yeah,
princess is not gone. She's just a servant now.
yeah. So
Hmm.
it's, I don't know, it's just really weird. It's kind of like trying to have both, try to have your cake and eat it too. The
Yes.
Disney Snow White made a very conscious decision to have it be isolated. She's walled in. There's nobody there. You don't
Hmm.
even see any bodyguards or anything.
Just the
And I,
huntsman.
Hmm.
He's the
yeah,
only
just the
guy.
huntsman. Yeah, there's a very like they chose that for a reason. And then this one, it's kind of like they wanted to focus more on the kingdom, which is fine, but they put the castle in like the middle of a village, and there's
Yeah.
so many people around, but Snow White's somehow alone. It doesn't really make sense. I'm not
No.
against people being there, but they should have fully committed to it. They should have showed Snow White interacting with people who work there and like her being kind to them.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
again, that would have shown her being more active in people's lives, but she's not. So,
It would have
yeah,
not only made it make more sense, it would have made it more meaningful. And again, that would go back to the end. It would have made the end mean so much more.
yeah, exactly. Which there was an easy solution for all of this right there. They didn't do it. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that they could have done was show that the Queen had more direct control over the villagers.
I thought they were
Mm.
going to go for like she was doing mind control on people, but they
Yeah.
didn't do that.
No, because that it's not a very good way to do it, but at least it would sort of explain why none of the villagers remember Snow White or know that she's a princess, or it might have
Hmm.
helped cover some of the plot holes if they just
Yes.
said the Queen used magic. Do you know what I mean? But it's yeah, very, very mystifying decision to just leave it as is.
Yeah.
There's also like no implication that the queen is used. Like we know the queen's a witch.
Hmm.
It's part of her character, but there's literally no implication that she's used this powers except for trying to kill Snow White. And it's like, why? Or they even make it out that she tricked the king like herself without any use of these powers. It's like, but why not? Why not use that? I don't know. It's just very strange, I feel like.
Yeah, when she came in, I thought that's where they were going with that. Like, I thought she
Yeah.
was going to put a spell on him to take the
Yeah.
kingdom. But then she didn't. I didn't understand a lot that they had the queen do.
They
Yeah.
really did that scene with the transformation and the poisoned apple. They
Oh,
really did that
man.
dirty. It
I
looked
was
Oh my
so
expecting
god.
so
rubbish.
much more. Like the
Me
amount of
too.
the amount of CGI that they crammed into this film, I was expecting the transformation scene to be epic. I was like,
Mm.
this is what this movie is building for because this is going to be amazing. And then they did most of it in shadow. I'm like,
Hmm.
Yeah.
what? What? You spent like $500 billion on making these creepy dwarves, and then you did nothing for this transformation. You just put some
Yeah.
makeup on Gal Gadot, and then she did look. She went into the shadows, and then came back out looking gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a
It's also
disappointment.
I was saying again, sorry to my boyfriend, who is prisoner to most of my thoughts. But I would say to him, they don't. There's no really cool lair reveal, really. Like she goes down the staircase, she's already
Hmm.
like drinking the potion,
Yeah,
and it's like, where's the lair reveal? You see it after she's drinking the potion and transforming, but it's like, I don't even have time to enjoy the lair. That's part of the appeal of the
Yeah.
original Snow White was like, oh shoot, she has layers under this castle. Oh my gosh, like
Hmm.
kind of the surprise of it, right?
yeah.
You don't get that here. You're just like, you know what's up. All right, let's move on. Like, okay,
It felt
sorry.
like not just that scene, but so many things that were to do with both the Snow White story itself and then trying to stuff in the Disney Snow White. It felt like they still wanted to make the movie that they had originally made, so they were going to speed run through Snow White and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We're going to speed run through those scenes, get them out of the way so we could do our own thing.
It almost
Hmm.
felt contemptuous of the Disney Snow White at times, which is so
Especially
weird.
that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Hmm.
like, oh, we know you're expecting this because of this, but we don't want to do it, so screw you. And it's like, I don't know. It was just so weird.
Yes.
Yeah. They
And,
didn't give us
and
the good
no.
bits.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point? What's the point of remaking something if you're not going to do the good bit stuff?
Yeah.
This felt like it's this is better than this, but earlier this year I did the Asylum version of Snow White. And if you
Oh
don't know what the
wow.
Asylum is, it's this terrible low budget mockbuster ripoff studio. Like they see what's coming out and they make their own version to try and trick people into buying the DVD at Walmart or whatever. So
Um,
back when Snow White and the Huntsman and Mirror Mirror were coming out, they did their own Snow White. This reminded me so much of that. Like the story is completely different, but it reminded me of that movie so much because they were trying to make their own version of Snow White, but they were sprinkling in just enough recognizable things to make it Snow White. But it ended up being this weird, terrible mishmash of ideas that never worked together and just fell flat in the end. And this movie is technically better than the Asylum Snow White, but it felt like it was made with the same principles in mind. Like they're just trying to make some money and we're going to throw in all of these random ideas that don't work together just to get something on the shelf.
yeah. And then I want to bring something up because I was curious if either of you caught this. In general, there's a lot of focus on motifs that don't really like fully make sense. Like at one point, the queen focused on like kind of implying Snow White was a flower, and that's not as good as a diamond or something. And it's just like, why are you so focused on this flower motif? I don't get it. It doesn't really fit.
And she does
But
that trick with the rose a few times as well, doesn't she,
yeah,
to
exactly.
demonstrate that? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, what was the implication here? I thought you had a mirror slash glass thing going on. Why are you implying you're a diamond? I don't know. It just didn't really make sense to me. But anyway, regards to diamonds as well, there's gems. Like, there's a lot of talk about the gems supposedly
Yeah.
in this land, and nothing happens with them.
I
Yeah.
I
almost
was
thought
like,
they were going to lead to the queen trying to steal the dwarves' gems because the dwarves like mine gems and they had
yeah,
like magical gem finding power, hand glowy things going
Yeah,
on.
the
we
glowing
literally
hands.
we literally introduce that these dwarves have magic to find gems, and
Hmm.
nothing is done with it at all, or any implication at all. And it's like, what's happening right now?
The only thing that I can think of is that they did that to be like, see, these aren't little people, these are magical creatures. See, we're showing you they're doing magic. Like, that's the
Maybe.
only thing I can think of as to why they did that, because it made no bearing to the plot whatsoever.
Hmm.
But even like where the good things grow, they talked about gems in the ground, and they didn't have to do that. I thought when Jonathan was about to die, it would like turn out, oh, they brought him to Doc. It would turn out that the gems had magical powers or something, and that ended
Mm.
up saving him. And oh, that's why the dwarves mine these gems because they're magical. Nope, never really comes up. The queen
That
talks
whole
about
scene was
how,
so weird.
yeah, it was. I also, sorry, sidestepping into back into the love interest thing. Can I just say it's so freaking weird that there's like really not really that great of chemistry between Snow White and Jonathan until people are basically like, "You like each other, right? Special friends, wink, wink." And so it's like, "Oh, I guess so. I must like him now." It's like, what?
Yeah.
Can't you have like, what? Do you know how to build romantic chemistry at all?
Mm.
It also didn't help that there was, like, not that it makes a huge difference, but there was a huge age gap between them. Because Snow White is supposed to be like late teens, and he looks mid 30s, and he is mid 30s. Like,
Yeah.
it,
Really, I thought he looked 20s, but you know.
oh, I thought he looked mid 30s. Like, I had to look him up. I was like, is he supposed to be the same age as her? And maybe they're supposed to be in the world of the movie, but it didn't read that way to me on screen.
Nah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought 20s, so I guess I didn't see that.
Yeah. I just didn't really get Jonathan at all. I didn't really like the character. I wasn't really into the performance either. And yeah, now you've mentioned himbo prince, I'm like, I want to see him.
Yes.
uh, Himbo Prince. Well, he can still be the
Yeah,
leader of the bandits as well. Like he
Yeah.
can just be a prince from another kingdom who has some bandit friends and is a himbo, and there you go.
yeah. I just hate that they just copy pasted it, and inferior version of Flynn Rider into this. It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do anything. There's no point to him. He's kind of useless. He gets captured right away.
Hmm.
Is there any point? Does he have any bearing on the story at all?
He had to be the one to kiss her. But I think that
You're
was
right.
something they added in because I don't think that was the original intent. I from the way they were talking about the movie, I just assumed back when it first was being made that they were going with the original fairy tale where like they put her on a wagon or whatever, the apple gets dislodged and she wakes up. I like because the original fairy tale there is no true love's kiss. That was a
Yeah.
Disney thing. I kind of just assumed that's what
Mm.
they were going for. But then when all of the people were like, "Oh, there's no prince, you're ruining the story," I think they added that back in. So if that wasn't the original intent with the character, then he is kind of useless. But really, that's the only thing he does in the movie that fully needed to happen to make the movie work. Otherwise, he's just one of the bandits, and anything that he did could have been done by one of the other characters whose names I don't remember.
Yeah. Again, if this is
Hmm.
its own Snow White, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
If it wasn't trying to be the Disney Snow
Yeah.
White or like forced to be the Disney Snow White, that would have actually been interesting. Like we're going back to the original fairy tale, but it is the Disney Snow White.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
uh, I mean that would explain why the final scene just looks so. I say final. I mean the kissing scene looks so bad. I don't know. There's just something about when you see her dead on the tablet or whatever it is. I'm just like, I actually laughed. I don't know why. It just looked awful.
I didn't realize at first
Yeah.
because they built the canopy thing over top of her. I didn't realize until they got up close that she wasn't even in a coffin. I
Yeah.
was like, "What? That's a weird choice."
Hmm.
Because that also reminded me of the Asylum Snow White. Because I don't think they had a coffin for her either. I think they just laid her on a stone slab.
Hmm. Yeah. We just for Once Upon a VHS, like my podcast, we just recently watched Snow White: A Tale of Terror, which has Snow White being buried in this beautiful sort of stained glass coffin. And which reminds me actually about of the design that they use in this film, in this 2025 film, the Queen's crown and Kate, like the sort of like iridescent glass, and it just that just looks so cool. And I was like, you're just gonna stick Snow White on a rock? Is that what you're gonna do, dwarves? Like, no good send
Well,
off when you've got your magic gem finding powers. Surely you could.
Oh, that's true. They could have built it out of crystals.
Yeah.
well, I think the difference here though is that story wise it wouldn't have made sense
Yeah, I
because
suppose.
yeah, in the original fairy tale and the Disney movie, time passes before the prince finds her.
Yeah.
Whereas this, that would have been really weird for them to have done it so quickly.
That is
We've
true,
got
but
a
also
glass coffin hanging around. Yeah.
I don't know how much time passes because I thought like just watching the movie, I thought it was like the next day maybe. But
Yeah,
there was a line when he's in the dungeon with the huntsman about trying to escape every day, like yanking on the chain. I'm like, well, how many days was he supposed to have been in the dungeon?
I thought you said I'll
Mhm.
try to escape every day. Like,
Oh, maybe. I thought they were talking about he had been trying.
no, I don't know. I got the more impression he was like trying to say to the huntsman, "I'm never going to give up trying to
Okay.
escape." Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
That's the impression I got.
That would make more sense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
We'll give it the benefit of the doubt this one time.
yeah. I don't have I don't have the sound clip on hand. I don't know. I might have been excusing it myself, but yeah. Any other points you guys have to bring up?
I think that about covers it for me.
I'm skimming my notes just to make sure.
Oh yeah, I have notes. I haven't looked this whole freaking time.
I haven't really
Just
either.
going, just going up pure rage and spite.
Well, one thing I did just want to mention is just how much Disney spent on it. It is one of their most expensive films. It was somewhere in the range of $270 million. So
And it
it
looks
was not cheap to
bad.
make this film, and it looks bad. Yeah.
Like, why didn't they just release it? They could have saved themselves so much money and it would have been a better film. Like, all of them, I don't know how much they had spent on the original version, but I have to imagine that a massive chunk of the money in the reshoots was to make the dwarves because I don't think the dwarves were in the original version at all.
Hmm.
And they look
Honestly,
terrible.
we should we should Snyder cut this and demand the original. Um, because I'm curious. I'm curious if it because part of me is kind of like maybe even if we saw the original, we'd be like, okay, it was justified to do these reshoots. It really would have been quite bad. But it's like, well, I'm really curious now. I really want to see the original because I'm thinking it was quite bad. So yeah, let's demand the original cut.
Mm-hmm.
I am curious too. I don't know if I care enough to start an online petition, but if they'd ever wanted to, I would be there on opening day. I'm that curious. I'm not curious
Yeah,
enough to demand it, but I'm curious enough that I would immediately watch it.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. Just everything. It's not just this film. It's a lot of films I'm noticing, but it just feels like everything looks bad.
Yeah.
I
I don't know why.
I think it's them cheaping out on the CGI, trying to cram as much CGI into it in as little time as possible,
But
and
like
it
even
just
the
doesn't work.
costumes, yeah, even the costumes and the props and the sets, I don't know, they just don't look good.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. There was
If
one
they spent
particular
that much
moment.
money, where did the money go?
Yeah, there was one particular moment where, yeah, again, my boyfriend are watching, and he's very into like props and stuff. And they took out the box with the heart, and he goes, "Why does that look 3D printed?" It's like,
Oh, wow.
I guess it is because I understand maybe they wouldn't want to use ebony, real ebony, but and he's like, yeah, but like the original box isn't ebony. They chose to do this, and I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, you're right. It is very. It feels weird, but it's like I don't really know what the box is made out of.
The CGI is leaking into the real world.
That's the real conspiracy theory.
Mm.
Um, this is all a simulation. Um,
No, I
but
just
no,
mean they
like,
built the box in the computer and then they made it. So
Yeah.
it
oh,
doesn't look it doesn't
I
look real because they made it in the computer.
yeah, but it's just I don't know. But like
That is a good
everything looks
point.
bad.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
is a good point about the props though, because like even the scene like when she's going down into her dungeon, I don't know how much of those all those bottles and things where she's making up her really quick potion. I don't know how much of that was real and how much was CGI, but it doesn't look convincing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
The
even I racked on the locket she was wearing. Like the locket, they make this big
that
deal
looked
about
like
this
something I
locket
would
and
have
it's
found at
stupid.
Pomida when I was 12, like trying to find a
Yeah, it
Christmas
doesn't
present for my
look
cousin.
good. I would never, if I was a little girl, I would never want. When I was a little girl, I freaking loved getting matching lockets and necklaces to
Hmm.
media I watched. That was a trend in like the 90s was to bundle VHS tapes with like lockets and necklaces. And like I had like the Little Princess one. I had one for like Sing Me a Story with Belle, yada yada.
Hmm.
But if you had given Kid Me this locket, like a replica for kids, I would have been like, ew,
Yeah.
this isn't
But
cute.
it's cheap and easy to mass produce. So maybe they thought if this was a success, then this would be an easy, there we go, you've got your Snow White locket. And I agree, it is really ugly and tacky looking, but it would have been, it's not like it's got any kind of cool gems or anything that's part of it. It's like, there you go, just a quick silver locket, that'll do you.
Yeah, they
Like,
cheaped out
again,
on it.
if it had a gem, that would have made sense with all this gem BS that they set up in the
Yeah,
beginning.
totally.
Yeah, totally. I
Yeah,
didn't even think of that, but you're so
Mm.
right. The props make a huge difference. I can't believe I didn't even think about it, but like all of the stuff, there's so much CGI that even the stuff that isn't CGI, it
looks
doesn't
like
look
CGI.
handcrafted.
Yeah.
Like they used to
Yeah.
handcraft props and things. The box is a good point because
Hmm.
in a movie 10, 20 years ago, they would have made it out of wood and they
Hmm.
would have
Yeah.
varnished and painted it to look amazing. And
Mm.
I bet it was 3D printed. Maybe it wasn't, but I'm just gonna I'm gonna be cynical enough to say, yeah, it was 3D printed, and that's why it looked terrible. The
But it's like they chose for it to look 3D print. The original box is wooden
yeah,
and it's
Hmm.
beautiful. It's iconic. They
yes,
could have just replicated the original box and it would have been beautiful and iconic. Like, why did they choose to make it look ebony and then be like, well, we can't morally use ebony, so we're going to 3D print this? And yeah, it just, I don't know. I think in general, too, it's just fabrics look worse now, too, because they're putting synthetic plastic into everything to make it cheaper. But yeah,
Maybe
I was like,
that's why her dress looks so odd.
it's funny because
Probably.
again, I was looking at it with my boyfriend, and we're both also really into like costume design as well. And I was just like, I don't know why this looks so awful. Like you can see the fabric, it's textured. It's not like just a plain fabric. There's like thought process behind this costume design, but it looks like if you touched it, it would feel awful. It's just
Yeah.
it, yeah, I don't. It's just, there's just something about the costumes and props in this movie that I feel like very, very much embody kind of this problem with movies in general. Or maybe it's because cameras are too high definition now that we could see all this kind of stuff. But like,
Mm.
I feel like movies used to look gorgeous and had gorgeous costumes and gorgeous sets and gorgeous props, and this one just
This
there's
one
just
looked
something
like it
about it.
was trying to convince you that it was gorgeous,
Yeah,
and it
Mhm.
didn't
but
work.
it wasn't cute or gorgeous at all.
No.
Or yeah, or even again, I was like the dwarf's cottage should have been really easy to make cute, and it just fell flat for me for some reason. There was
It
just
looked
something wrong with
CGI.
it.
It didn't look real.
Yeah, it didn't
Yeah,
look real.
what it sort of reminds me of, and I hate to say this because I know that there are, this craftsmanship that goes into this movie, much as I didn't really like it overall. But a lot of the production design and, like you're saying, the sets and the props and the costumes, it sort of reminds me of AI generated art. It's like this,
Yeah,
I thought the same thing.
it's bland.
Like I felt when I was watching the animals,
Yeah.
I was like, this feels like what the people who make AI things would train their models off of. They would run Snow White through it
hmm
so they could steal this look. Like it didn't
hmm
look AI, but it looked like what AI wants to be.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I was sorry, I keep mentioning it, but when I watched it with my boyfriend, I was like, this feels like generic fantasy. What is the world building? Like,
Yeah.
what
hmm
is the process behind why they're wearing what they're wearing? What is the thought behind anything? And it just feels like generic fantasy. And that
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of would tie in with AI. And see, I'm not normally into the conspiracy. Everyone Disney's using AI, yada yada, but it does kind of feel like that's what's happening here.
It feels soulless, and I think that's what
Yeah.
I how I feel about the film is it doesn't really have an identity of its own. It doesn't know what it's saying. It doesn't know what there's no real sort of artistic ambition behind it. It's just sort of putting things on screen that it thinks people will like, but then that's been recalibrated at several points during the development and production process of, oh, we think this group of people is not going to like this thing, let's change that, or let's, overcorrect mistakes like you mentioned before.
Hmm.
Yeah, it does just feel like like this film was sort of synthetically manufactured, and it doesn't have the nutrients of love and care and thought that are put into good movies.
What you said about it being soulless, I just pictured, I almost have this film watching philosophy of if you're watching a film, you're almost like talking to a person, right? It's
hmm
somebody with the story, it's someone with the message that they're trying to tell and share with you. This movie, you're not talking to anybody, it's soulless. It almost feels like you're
hmm
talking to a mirror, which is
Right.
ironic considering the story, the fairy tale of involving a mirror. But it kind of does feel like it's holding a mirror of what it wants you to see, of what it thinks you want to see.
hmm
But it just kind of ends up being a mirror of
Yes.
our current, ironically, symbolically, of our current problems in the film industry, in the world, within ourselves, which is not was not trying to do.
hmm hmm
It stumbled across that quite accidentally. But yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't
Right.
have a message, doesn't have a soul, doesn't have its own story. It's not telling you. You're talking to yourself basically in a mirror.
hmm
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
I guess we didn't we could talk more about the dwarves if we wanted to.
Yeah. I mean,
Probably
the
should have brought it up earlier, but yeah. I hate that dopey talks, by the way.
And that
the
he's
the
the
way they
narrator as well.
yes, the way they
Oh.
structured that was so weird. Like it was supposed to be this grand reveal, and I could tell by the way that they shot it. It was like the audience is supposed to clutch their chest and go, "Gasp! Dopey!
Yeah.
He speaks!" And I'm just staring blank faced, Like, okay, whatever.
I'm I'm just gonna say, I feel like the whole thing with Dopey feels very ableist, and I don't even think they were thinking about it that way. But kind of, so the whole thing with Whistle While You Work ends up being team effort cleaning with the dwarves instead of Snow White choosing to do it with the animals. I did already criticize that as inactive of her. But I did notice during the song, she's not really doing anything. She's more directing the dwarves on what to do. So she's still
That is
inactive.
true, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, so the whole thing of Whistle, she teaches Dopey to whistle so he has a way to express himself. And I'm like, okay, is this supposed to be a point about giving people with disabilities the resources and tools to communicate? Like, it's not a bad message, but it just kind of feels like it kind of left field and it doesn't really belong here. But okay, at least it's something she does.
It's not a
And then
bad
it's like,
message if
yeah,
Dopey actually has some sort of disability, but
yeah.
he
But then
doesn't.
he ends up talking, and I'm like,
Right.
oh my god, this comes across as if you're just nice to a disabled person, they'll solve their problems. Like, you ever thought about whistling and making noise and then you could talk? It's like, no, I never thought of it before. Like, what the heck? I don't know. I was just like, I don't, I think this comes across as a bit ableist.
I didn't think of it that way, but you're right, it does. I just thought of it as just a weird choice all around, but that does feel like an unintended message.
Yeah,
It's
I
well,
don't
this
know.
this writer clearly had a few things to say about Dopey and wanted Dopey to have a bit more screen time, I guess. But yeah, that just reminded me as well of the lyric. You know how they've added sections to Hi Ho and
Yes.
Whistle While You Work, and I think Silly Song as
Yeah.
well.
Those were the parts where I fully felt like I'm watching fan fiction.
Yeah, uh-huh. The lyric where like I guess it's Grumpy. I can't remember which dwarf it is, but it is starting to sing about shoving a brush where the sun don't shine and things. And
Oh, I
it's like,
hated
I'm
that.
not. Yeah, like I'm not. One to sort of clutch my pearls or anything, but I just, it felt so out of place and like,
When Whistle While You Work started, that was the first, maybe the only time, if I'm thinking about it, the first time that I actually had a smile while watching this movie. I really liked how that
right.
song sounded. I liked the song. And then that line happened, and the smile fell off my face immediately.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's almost cinematic, the way you described that.
Oh,
Um, I'm so sorry you had that experience. But I get why you smiled because I do remember thinking that is the point in the movie where Snow White feels like the Disney Snow White.
Yeah,
Um,
it
yeah.
is.
yeah, she actually, I should say I actually think Rachel Zegler did do the best with what she had. She was probably one of the better parts of the movie. But here, like you really see why they hired her.
Yes. I want to say I
Mhm.
mostly agree with you. The only disagreement I have with that is any time when she is supposed to be interacting with something, mostly the animals, with something that doesn't exist, it didn't feel like she was interacting with something. It felt
Ah,
like she was pretending to interact with something.
Yeah.
again, I had this conversation with my boyfriend as well, where I was like, the problem, yeah, I would say the only criticism I did have was it doesn't feel like she's really seeing anything there,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's kind of a problem with modern filmmaking and CGI as well, is that they kind of do expect the actors just to interact with nothing or very
Mm.
minimal, somebody in like a green suit or something,
Hmm.
where it's like,
Mhm.
think back to Bob Hoskins in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Every time he interacts with like Roger, he's seeing something there. And it's like, yes, he's a good actor, but also he was actually seeing something there. They had like a Roger like puppet thing that they would do just so he'd know where to look in terms of like eye line
Hmm.
and just it's sometimes the voice of Roger Rabbit, I forgot his name, but he would be there to like interact with him, so he had someone to play off
Mhm.
of. Basically what I'm saying is in filmmaking, we used to give these actors all these tools to interact with nothing, so to make it feel like they were interacting with something. But now
Mm.
we don't. We just kind of magically expect them to be able to do it, and it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
I know, and I've seen some behind the scenes stuff in more recent things. They do sometimes do, but while I was watching this, I questioned whether they were giving her anything because it didn't look like she was looking at anything.
Yeah, I don't think they were. I think they just had her dancing around a screen. There might have been people like holding props or something, or but I
Yeah.
don't believe she actually was given directions in regards to that, or there was anyone there.
It reminds me of on the Lord of the Rings DVDs, you know how they did all these extended bonus features about the making of Lord of the
Yes.
Rings. And Sir Ian McKellen, who is obviously this veteran actor who has so much experience, was getting really frustrated with having to act against nothing. You know, they had maybe
Uh-huh.
little prop sticks or something to for him to interact with, but he was getting really frustrated with it. And it just makes me think about the fact that Rachel Zegler is a very young new star, and she'd done the Steven Spielberg remake of West Side Story before this, but this was her second film. You know, she
Yeah,
had it's not like she had like a wealth of experience. Yeah, I know she did theater and stuff before, but for somebody that is really sort of new and establishing themselves, that must have been such a challenge to have so much of your
Uh-huh.
screen time being interacting with these CGI dwarves that aren't there or these animals that aren't there.
Yeah.
So it must have been a real challenge.
and it's like it didn't have to be this way.
Yeah,
She
Yes.
could have
exactly.
interacted with people.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think that's a good way to sum up the entire movie. It didn't have to be this way.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah, I will say in general the dwarves are pretty annoying. I also feel like
Yes.
I don't know. I know the original movie had slapstick. If anything, sometimes when I'm watching the original movie, I get kind of bored with the slapstick. And here they do it even less, but I
hmm.
somehow get really annoyed with the slapstick. I think because it feels colder for whatever
Yes.
reason.
It
Yeah.
doesn't feel
Especially
real.
because yeah, especially because they make it about Dopey being bullied instead, and it's just like, okay, like I don't
Yeah.
know, the tension behind it is different, and even just the character's interpretation doesn't feel good. Like Doc is focused on introducing them in alphabetical order or reverse order. Like they don't
hmm.
bicker about this stuff in the original.
Hmm.
They just have to try to create conflict for some reason, and it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
No, I didn't like the dwarves at all.
Yeah.
None of them.
Grumpy was the only saving grace, and even that was just barely.
I didn't even like him.
No.
Really, I feel like he was the best of them though, like at least.
I suppose, but that's a really low
Yeah,
bar.
that's a low bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I was kind of like, it's funny because in the original movie, Grumpy argues that Snow White should leave and she's a danger to them, and the other dwarves and us, by extension, also agree she shouldn't leave because like she's helped them and obviously they'll be good for each other. She should stay. Whereas this movie, he argues that she should go, that she's dangerous to them. It's just kind of like, yeah, she should go.
That
And
that
Like,
that's
that
it.
scene was very strange to me.
Yeah.
yeah, basically she
Mhm.
gets kicked out. Like, great, love that for us.
Yeah, and she got
Mhm.
kicked out, and then she meets the quote unquote prince and everybody, and then is almost immediately right back there because she knew that Doc would be able to fix his arrow wound.
Even though actually he couldn't, and his name was just Doc for no
Yeah,
reason.
I thought that was such a weird choice to like, okay, he's the doctor, why?
And
And
also
then
somehow he did fix him, but
yeah,
not using the
he
magical
thought
rocks.
he died, and then he's literally perfectly healed. Like when
Yeah,
they did the whole song, and I was like, okay, this is just they're playing this up for this musical number. Like he's still wounded, he'll be fine. Nope, he's fully fine, fully healed,
Mhm.
leaves, and then fully goes off on his adventure afterwards. It's like this makes no sense. I almost wondered if the arrow scene was added in afterwards, and I kept looking at his wound in later scenes, and I was like, is that wound CGI? Is that hole in his shirt CGI?
I don't know.
But that just goes to show if we're thinking about that kind of thing, if we're thinking about something's gone on here, this isn't all adding up.
Yes.
If there isn't enough in the film to keep us engaged or to sort of distract us from that, even
Yes.
it's not achieving its aims, really, is it?
No.
Yeah,
Literally the whole movie, I kept thinking about this was probably from this part, this was probably from this shoot, this was from here, this was
Yeah.
Frankenstein in from there. They added this at this point in time.
Hmm.
I never, I was never thinking about the movie in terms of its own story. I was thinking about it in terms of everything I
No.
had heard about the movie and its production.
Well, again,
Hmm.
as we've said before, you can see this movie by the joints. For some reason, it's
Yes.
extremely obvious when different things were done, and then you start doubting everything else. Like, was that always intended? When was that added in?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit distracting.
Hmm.
Very.
It's very interesting though, but yeah,
Yes, interesting for all the wrong reasons.
yes, yes. I feel like there's too much in the movie for him being shot to have been organic, like to have been like a spontaneous decision to do. At the same time, maybe not, because it seems like they just wanted to fast track. Oh, yeah, they're attracted to each other now.
Yeah,
So
I don't
maybe
know.
that was the solution to that, because they're like, oh, they're not attracted to each other enough. I don't know.
Well, part of it is because, like, if he gets shot in
Maybe.
the original version, what do they do? Because the dwarves weren't in the original. So what do they do
See,
after?
that's why I kind of think they maybe they were in the original, and then they got taken out. But then what did they do then? I
Maybe.
don't know. Again, this would be fascinating to see the original cut for her.
It would. It'll never happen, but I really wish they would.
Yeah. Disney's
Or
gonna
at
delete those
least,
files.
yeah, somebody leak the original script, please. I'm very interested to see what what happens originally.
That would be interesting because, like, it's we have had that in the past where we
Mm.
do get like original scripts for movies. So maybe one day we will. Probably too soon for that right now, but I would be very interested to see the original script.
Yeah.
Wasn't Greta Gerwig involved in the production at some point? Was she the original director, or did she just come on to
Was
fix
she?
something? I feel like
I
a
remember
long
something
time
about
ago,
her being involved. Yeah, whether she was like maybe she was consulted on the script or
maybe.
where
It's
is
been
it?
so long since I heard her name mentioned, and she's not listed on the Wikipedia page. So whatever she did was probably cut.
Ah, okay. So it says in November 2021, Greta Gerwig was reported to be co-writing the screenplay, but she ultimately received an additional literary cr material credit from the WGA, although she's not credited in the film itself. So
Okay.
she did some work on it, but it's not considered part of the finished film.
Okay. Well, I was going to say release the Gerwig cut, but I guess she didn't get that far.
I'd be very interested to see what she would have done with it as well.
Yeah. It couldn't have been worse than
I think she
this.
would have done, but yeah, I think she would have done better. But yeah,
All these possibilities, what could have been,
Yes.
and we got what we got.
got what you got, and we're
Uh,
not happy with it.
No.
no.
We're waiting on a wish.
Yes.
A wish for a better movie, yeah.
uh, yes. Yeah.
Well, I really hope this makes Disney re-examine their live action remakes. I, along with many others, feels like this trend needs to stop.
Yeah.
And they need to address why they're so scared of doing original stories that this is what they're doing.
Mhm.
I think if Lilo and Stitch had failed, it definitely would have, but Lilo and Stitch did not fail. And then they greenlit a sequel immediately.
Oh yeah, you're
So,
right. It should have failed, but
I
part
mean,
of that, yeah,
Lilo and Stitch was way more competently made than this.
yeah.
Disney is not known for taking the right lessons away from things, so they may or
Mm.
may not look at both movies and figure out what the difference is. I don't know. It'd be nice if they did, but I do wish that they would just put a pause on all of the live action remakes.
I feel like internally they have to at least examine why Lilo and Stitch went okay and Snow White didn't. But I am afraid that they're going to come away with the wrong message, especially that Snow White had so much attempts to be feminist. And again, my argument is that it actually circles back into being anti-feminist. But is someone going to see this and just be like, "Oh, people don't want woke. That's the problem." And it's like, no, it's not. You just don't know what it means.
Yeah, it's a bunch of suits making decisions about things they don't understand.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, totally. And trying to please everybody, like you mentioned, but ending up pleasing nobody.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I suppose that's probably enough of an autopsy on this film.
Yeah, I be beating a dead horse to say anything else, I think.
uh,
You
yeah.
can't give it true love's kiss. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna bring it back. No.
No.
Well, it's a shame that what's the quote? It's too bad I didn't love you.
Uh, well, thanks for enduring this with me. Like it wasn't that bad. Like
No.
I mean, as always, the podcast makes it worth it. This wasn't an awful movie.
As an analytical thing, it was interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
yeah.
definitely. I have seen movies that I legitimately never want to watch again. This is fine. Like it's not a good movie, but it's
Mhm.
not awful. It's
Not awful. No.
there are scenes that could be
It's a
described as
car crash,
anything
you
that
know.
yeah, anything that is fully CGI, I don't like looking at. But like the actors are all in their own ways competent. They're just all in different movies.
Yeah.
If anything,
Yeah.
it's interesting to watch knowing the history. That makes it more worth watching. Just looking
Absolutely.
for the connections.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
an interesting one to discuss. And I'm sure that as more information comes out about the production of it, then
Yeah,
it'll be fun to revisit.
yeah, definitely. I wish there could be a behind the scenes making of documentary. That seems unlikely, but
Hmm.
maybe in, like you said, in like 30 years, maybe there will be one and we'll finally know the truth.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I think it'll come out eventually.
Well, I think that's going to be all for Snow White.
Definitely not the fairest one of all.
No, not this one.
No, yes.
Um,
We'll probably be back for something else, but hopefully it will be slightly better than this. uh, until next time, do you guys want to let people know where they can find you if they would like more from you? Jenna?
I'm in the magical forest. I don't know if you just go in there, scream my name, maybe I'll keep kidding. I Phantomwise on YouTube. Also love Gift of a Fairy Tale on YouTube.
And Callum?
Yeah, I'm part of Once Upon a VHS, an 80s and 90s fantasy podcast, which you can find wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, at Once Upon a VHS on Instagram and Blue Sky and TikTok.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining me for this one,
Thank you.
for
Thank
all of
you.
these movies that we've done.
Yeah, this has been good fun.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll see you next time for something else. Thanks for listening to Every Version Ever. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow my co-hosts as well. My link tree and all of our links will be in the description below. If you want more of my content, all my podcasts are available on YouTube as well as most podcast platforms. If you enjoyed this show, check out one of the other podcasts or check out my Patreon for bonus and extended episodes you won't find anywhere else. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.